The crystalline training hall of Station Nexus 7 gleamed under artificial suns, its floors designed to accommodate every known species' physiology. Dennis stood at the edge of the sparring circle, his human frame looking impossibly fragile among the assembled students. Around him, beings from across the galaxy prepared for Master Thorvik's advanced combat class. "Look at the Death Worlder," chittered a Velkari student, its 6 limbs flexing in what passed for laughter among its kind. "Does it even understand the danger it's in?" Dennis ignored the comment, adjusting the neural feedback band around his temple. He'd heard worse in the 3 months since humanity had joined the galactic community. Earth was classified as a Class 9 death world, a planet so hostile that most species required environmental suits just to visit. Yet somehow, this made humans seem weak to many galactic citizens, a paradox Dennis never quite understood. "Attention, students." Master Thorvik's voice resonated through the chamber. The Kryn instructor stood nearly 3 meters tall, her forearms crossed in a gesture of authority. "Today's exercise will test your adaptive combat responses. You will face opponents randomly selected by the training AI." Heather, Dennis's friend and the only other human in the class, caught his eye from across the circle. She gave him an encouraging nod. She'd been through this before, the mockery, the underestimation, the surprise that followed. "The human child should withdraw," rumbled a Draconeer named Vexthor, his scaled hide shimmering with barely contained aggression. "This class is for warriors, not fragile mammals." Several students vocalized agreement. Dennis felt his jaw tighten but maintained his composure. His father, a xenobiologist, had taught him that anger was a tool, useful only when properly directed. "The human stays," Master Thorvik declared, her tone brooking no argument. "Perhaps some of you will learn why Earth produces more successful mercenaries per capita than any other known world." The holographic randomizer spun, selecting pairs. When it stopped, Dennis's name appeared opposite Vexthor's. The Draconeer's reptilian features twisted into what might have been a smile. 13 seconds, Vexthor announced. "That's how long I'll need to incapacitate the soft skin." "Interesting number," Dennis replied calmly, stepping into the combat circle. "Let's see if you're right." The circle activated, energy barriers rising to contain the match. Standard rules applied. First to 3 incapacitations or submission 1. Lethal force was prohibited, but injuries were considered part of the learning process. Heather leaned forward, whispering to a Zentari student beside her. "Watch carefully. You're about to see why humans are scary." Vexthor exploded forward with devastating speed, his claws extended and tail whipping for balance. He was fast, faster than Dennis by any objective measurement. His strike could shatter bone and his hide could deflect most conventional weapons. What happened next would be analyzed in xenobiology classes for years. Dennis didn't dodge. Instead, he stepped into the attack, his movement minimal but precise. His left hand guided Vexthor's claw strike past his shoulder, while his right hand shot forward, fingers extended, striking the Draconeer's throat at the soft junction between armored scales. Vexthor's charge became a stumble. Before he could recover, Dennis had pivoted, using the Draconeer's own momentum against him, a human technique called judo, ancient by galactic standards but devastatingly effective. Vexthor crashed to the ground, and Dennis's knee was already pressing into his back. One arm locked in a joint manipulation that threatened permanent damage if the Draconeer continued to resist. 3 seconds had elapsed. First, incapacitation, the AI announced, Master. Thorvik's eyes widened fractionally, the most emotion Dennis had ever seen from her. Vexthor roared, surging upward with the raw strength his species was famous for. He broke free as Dennis knew he would, and spun with claws extended. But Dennis was already moving, his body flowing like water around the attacks. Every movement was economical, precise, born from a species that had spent millennia finding the most efficient ways to kill. Another strike, this time to a nerve cluster Heather had helped Dennis map during their xenobiology studies. Vexthor's left side went temporarily numb. 7 seconds. The Draconeer switched tactics, attempting to use his tail as a sweep. Dennis jumped, but not away. He jumped onto the tail, running up Vexthor's spine before the larger being could react. A precise strike to the base of the skull, calculated, non-lethal but overwhelming to the Draconeer nervous system. Vexthor collapsed. 11 seconds. The hall had gone silent. Every student watched as Dennis stepped back, breathing hard but controlled. He wasn't faster than Vexthor. He wasn't stronger. His hide wouldn't stop a claw strike. But he understood leverage, anatomy, and something the galaxy was only beginning to comprehend. About humans, they were persistence, predators who had turned warfare into an art form. Second, incapacitation, the AI confirmed Vex's. Thor struggled to his feet, pride warring with the growing realization that he'd underestimated his opponent. He charged again, more cautiously this time, but caution came too late. Dennis ducked under a claw swipe, stepped inside the Draconeer's guard, and executed a throw that used every principle of physics available. Vexthor flew through the air and landed hard enough to knock the breath from his lungs. 13 seconds. Dennis's hand was at Vexthor's throat, positioned over the vulnerable windpipe. "Yield," he said quietly, "or I continue." Yield," Vexthor gasped. The barrier dropped. Dennis immediately extended a hand to help Vexthor up. Another human peculiarity that confused many species. Why help someone you just defeated? Master Thorvik approached the circle, all forearms now uncrossed. 13 seconds, she said, her voice carrying across the silent hall. The exact time predicted. Tell me, Dennis, was that luck? No, Master, Dennis replied. Vexthor announced his intention. I simply made it accurate. A sound rippled through the chamber, the galactic equivalent of nervous laughter. Vexthor stared at Dennis with newfound respect, then bowed his head. I was wrong about you, human. Your world may be a death world, but it has forged something unexpected. Heather approached, unable to suppress her smile. Told you, she said to the Zentari student. Humans don't fight fair. We fight to win. Master Thorvik raised a hand for attention. Let this be a lesson. Deathworlders don't survive their planets through superior strength or speed alone. They survive through adaptability, intelligence, and the willingness to face any threat with courage. She looked directly at Dennis. Humanity brings something unique to the galaxy. The experience of a species that fought its way to the top of one of the most hostile food chains known. Never forget that. As the class resumed, Dennis noticed the change immediately. No more mockery, no more dismissive chittering. Instead, there were questions, respectful nods, and even a few requests to train together. Walking out of the hall beside Heather, Dennis allowed himself a small smile. Think they'll underestimate the next human who walks in here? Heather laughed. Not a chance. You just made sure of that. 13 seconds to change the galaxy's mind about humanity. Not bad for a Tuesday, Dennis grinned. His father had been right. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their endurance or their aggression. It was their ability to surprise everyone, including themselves. And in a galaxy full of beings who thought they'd seen everything, that surprise was humanity's greatest weapon. The stars awaited, and humanity was ready to show them what a Deathworlder could really do.